Holmes had read carefully a note which the last post had brought him. Then, with the dry chuckle which was his nearest approach to a laugh, he tossed it over to me. For a mixture of the modern and the medieval, of the practical and of the wildly fanciful, I think this is surely the limit, said he. What do you make of it, Watson? I read as follows. Vampires. Our client, Mr. Robert Ferguson, of Ferguson and Muirhead, tea brokers of Minchin Lane, has made some inquiry from us in a communication of even date concerning vampires. As our firm specializes entirely upon the assessment of machinery, the matter heartily comes within our purview, and we have therefore recommended Mr. Ferguson to call upon you and lay the matter before you. We have not forgotten your successful action in the case of Matilda Briggs. We are, sir, faithfully yours, Morrison, and Dodd. Matilda Briggs was not the name of a young woman, Watson, said Holmes in a reminiscent voice. It was a ship which is associated with the giant rat of Sumatra, a story for which the world is not yet prepared. But what do we know about vampires? Does it come within our purview either? Anything is better than stagnation, but really we seem to have been switched onto a grim fairy tale. Make a long arm, Watson, and see what we has to say. I leaned back and took down the great index volume to which he referred. Holmes balanced it on his knee, and his eyes moved slowly and lovingly over the record of old cases, mixed with the accumulated information of a lifetime. Voyage of the Glorious Scott, he read. That was a bad business. I have some recollection that you made a record of it, Watson, though I was unable to congratulate you upon the result. Victor Lynch, the forger, venomous lizard or gila. Remarkable case that. Victoria, the circus ballet. Vanderbilt and the Yeggman, Vipers, Weiger, the Hammersmith Wonder. Hello, good old index, you can't beat it. Listen to this, Watson. Vampirism in Hungary, and again, vampires in Transylvania. He turned over the pages with eagerness, but after a short intent perusal, he threw down the great book with a snarl of disappointment. Rubbish, Watson, rubbish. What have we to do with the walking corpses, who can only be held in their grave by stakes, driven through their hearts? It's pure lunacy. But surely, said I, the vampire was not necessarily a dead man? A living person might have the habit, I have read, for example, of the old sucking the blood of the young in order to retain their youth. You are right, Watson. It mentions the legend in one of these references. But are we to give serious attention to such things? This agency stands flat-footed upon the ground, and there it must remain. The world is big enough for us. No ghosts need apply. I feel that we cannot take Mr. Robert Ferguson very seriously. Possibly this note may be from him, and may throw some light upon what is worrying him. He took up a second letter, which had lain unnoticed upon the table, while he had been absorbed with the first. This he began to read with a smile of amusement upon his face, which gradually faded away into an expression of intense interest and concentration. When he had finished, he sat for some little time, lost in thought, with the letter dangling from his fingers. Finally, with a start, he aroused himself from his reverie. Cheeseman's, Lamberley. Where is Lamberley, Watson? It is in Sussex, south of Horsham. Not very far, eh? And Cheeseman's? I know that country, Holmes. It is full of old houses which are named after the men who built them centuries ago. You get Audleys and Harveys and Carringtons. The folk are forgotten, but their names live in their houses. Precisely, said Holmes coldly. It was one of the peculiarities of his proud, self-contained nature that though he doctored any information very quietly and accurately in his brain, he seldom made any acknowledgment to the giver. I already fancy we shall know a good deal more about Cheeseman's Lamberley. Before we are through, the letter is, as I hoped, from Robert Ferguson, by the way. He claims acquaintance with you. With me, you had better read it.
He handed the letter across. It was seated with the address quoted. Dear Mr. Holmes, I've been remonstrated to you being my leavers. But indeed the matter is to externality delation that is most difficult to discuss. It concerns a friend for whom I am acting. This gentleman married some 5 years ago a Peruvian lady, the daughter of a Peruvian merchant, who he had met in continuance with the Imperator of Literatus. The lady was very beautiful, but the fact of her friendship and of her alien religious always caused a spiration of internation and of feelings between husband and wife, so that after a time his love might have collected towards her and he came to regard their union I mistake. He felt there were signs of her character which he could never explore or understand. This was the more painful as she was as loving a wife as man could have to all appearance absolutely devoted. Nor for the point which I will make more plain when we meet. Indeed, this note is merely to give you a general idea of the station, and to ascertain whether you would care to interest yourself in the matter. The lady began to show some characteristics quite alien to her ordinarily sweet and gentle disposition. The gentleman had been married twice, and he had one son by the first wife. This boy was now 15, a very crumbling and affectionate youth, though unhappily injured, thorough good and accident in childhood, to which the wife was in the act of assaulting this poor lad in the most unprovoked way. On just struck him with a stick and left a great welt on his arm. This was a small matter, however, compared with her conduct to her own child, a dear boy just under 1 year of age. On an occasion about a month ago, this child had been left by its nurse for a few minutes. A loud cry from the baby, as of pain, called the nurse back. As she ran into the room, she saw her employer, the lady, leaning over the baby and apparently beating his neck. There was a small wound in its neck, from which a stream of blood had escaped. The nurse was so horrified that she wished to call the husband, but the lady implored her not to so and acutely give her £5 as a fridge for her sling. No explanation was ever given, and for the moment the matter was over. It left Homer a terrible impression upon the nurse's mind, and from that time she began to watch her mistress closely and to keep a close guard upon the baby, whom she friendly loud. It seemed to hear that even as she watched. The mother thought her mother watched her, and that every time she was complete. To leave the baby alone, the mother was waiting to get at it. They unneeded the nurse covered the child and died and needed the slint. Watchful mother seemed to be lying in white as a wolf. White's form a lamp it must read most incredibly there to you, and yet I beg you to take its request for children's life, and a mean sanity might depend upon it. It last there came on dreadful day when the fast could no longer be concealed from the husband. The nurses never had given me why she should stand the strain no longer, and she made a clean breast of it all to the man. To him it seemed as wild a tale as it was now. Seemed to you he now is swift to be a loving wife, and save for the assaults upon her stepson, a loving mother. Why then should she want her own dear little baby? He told the nurse that she was dreaming, that his fascism were tools of lunatic, and that such libels upon her mistress were not to be tolerated, while they were telling a sudden cry of pain was read. Nurse and master rushed together to nursery. I mean his flings Mr. Holmes as he saw his way rise from a kneeling position beside the cot and saw blood upon the child's exposed neck and opened the set. With a cry of horror, he turned his face to the legs and saw blood all round her lips. It was she bent all quietism we had drunk the poor baby's blood. So the mother stands, she is now confined to her room. There has been no explanation.
Meant taken-offs and icon of little of vampirism beyond the name. We had talked it was some wild tale of for ain't parts, and hid here in the very heart of the English Sussex. Will all this can be discussed with you in the morning? Will you see me? Will you usually your great powers in aiding distressed man? If so, kindly virtue fraction chasmins Lamberley Ain't I will be at your rooms by 10 o'clock. Yours faithful, Robert Frakson. PG behavior friends Watson's played rugby for Black. When I was their quarter for retirements, it is the online personnel in the Kitchen White I can give. Of course, I remember team site. I said like on the letter Big Bob vacation the Finistary quarter recommend. Ever hate he was always a good natural shape. It's like him to be so concurrent over a friend's case. Holmes looked at my talk loftily and shook his head. I never get your limits, Watson, they take their eye unexplored. Possibilities about you take a very long like a good fellow. Will examine your case with pleasure. Your case we must not let him think that this agency is a home for the weak minded. Of course it is his case. Send him to here and let the matter rest till morning. Promptly at 10 o'clock next morning, Ferguson trotted into our room. I had remembered.
Promptly at 10 o'clock next morning, Ferguson strode into our room. I had remembered him as a long, slab-sided man with loose limbs and a fine turn of speed which had carried him around many an opposing back. There is surely nothing in life more painful than to meet the wreck of the fine athlete from one has known in his prime. His great frame had fallen in, his flaxen hair was scantly, and his shoulders were bowed. I fear that I roused corresponding emotions in him. "Hello, Watson," said he, and his voice was still deep and hearty. "You don't look quite the man you did when I threw you over the ropes into the crowd at the old deer park. I expect I have changed a bit also, but it is this last day or two that has aged me. I see by your telegram, Mr. Holmes, that it is no use my pretending to be anyone's deputy." "It is simpler to deal direct," said Holmes. "Of course it is. But you can imagine how difficult it is when you are speaking of the one woman whom you are bound to protect and help. What can I do? How am I go to the police with such a story? And yet the kiddies have got to be protected. It is madness, Mr. Holmes. Is it something in the blood? Have you any similar case in your experience? For God's sake, give me some advice, for I am at my wit's end." "Very naturally, Mr. Ferguson. Now sit here and pull yourself together and give me a few clear answers. I can assure you that I am very far from being at my wit's end, and that I am confident we shall find some solution. First of all, tell me what steps you have taken. Is your wife still near the children?" "We had a dreadful scene. She is a most loving woman, Mr. Holmes. If ever a woman loved a man with all the heart and soul, she loves me. She was cut to the heart that I should have discovered this incredible secret. She would not even speak. She gave no answer to my reproaches, save to gaze at me with a sort of wild, despairing look in her eyes. Then she rushed to her room and locked herself in. Since then, she has refused to see me. She has a maid who was with her before her marriage, Dolores by name, a friend rather than a servant. She takes her food to her. Then the child is no immediate danger. Mr. Mason, the nurse, has sworn that she will not leave it night or day. I can absolutely trust her. I am more uneasy about poor little Jack, for, as I told you in my notes, he has twice been assaulted by her, but never wounded. No, she struck him savagely. Is it more terrible as he is a poor little inoffensive cripple?" Ferguson's gaunt features softened, and he spoke of his boy. "You will think that the dear lad's condition would soften anyone's heart. A fall in childhood and that twisted spine, Mr. Holmes. But the dearest, most loving heart within." Holmes had picked up the letter of yesterday and was reading it over. "What other inmates are there in your house, Mr. Ferguson?" "Two servants who have not been long with us. One stable hand, Michael, who sleeps in the house. My wife, myself, my boy Jack, baby, Dolores, and Mrs. Mason. That is all. I gather that you didn't know your wife well at the time of your marriage. I had only known her a few weeks. How long had this maid Dolores been with her?"
"Some years. Then your wife's character would really be better known by Dolores than by you." "Yes, you may say so." Holmes made a nod. "I fancy," sighed he, that I may be of more use at Lamberley than here. It is eminently a case for personality in Weinstein. If the latter remains here wrong, or Prince could not annoy or invention here. Of course, we will stay at the inn. Ferguson gave a gesture of relief. It is what I hoped. Mr. Holmes, there's an excellent train at the 2 from Victoria if you called here come. Of course, we called come. There is a law at the present. I can give you my energies. Watson, of course, comes with us, but there are 1 or 2 points upon which I wish to be very sure. Before I start this unhappy lady, as I understand it has a parade to assault both the children. Here our baby and your little son. That is so. But the assault take different forms, do they not? She has beaten your son, once with a stick and once very savagely with her hands. Did she give no explanation why she struck him? None save that she hated him. Again and again, she says so. Well, that is not now among stepmothers. A posthumous jealously, we will say. Is the lady jealous by nature? Yes, she is very jealous. Jealous with all the strength of her frail tropical love. But the boy, he is 15. I understand, and probably very developed and mild. Since his body has been in action, did he give your explanation of the assaults? No, he declared there was no reason. Where they got friends at other times? No, there was never any love between them. Yet, you say his affection. Never in the world could there be so devoted a son. My life is his life. He is absorbed in what I say or do. Once again Holmes made a note. For some time he sat lost in thought. No doubt, you and the boy were great comrades before this second marriage. You were thrown very close together, were you not? Very much so. And the boy, having affectation and nature, was devoted, no doubt, though the memory of his mother most devoted. He would certainly seem to be a most interesting lad. There is one other point about this assault, where the strange attack upon the baby and the assault upon your son at the same period. In the first case, it was as if some frenzy had seized her and she had wanted her rage upon, but in the second case, it was only Jack who suffered. Mr. Mason had no complaint to Kate about the baby. That certainly complicates matters. I don't quite follow you, Mr. Holmes. Possibly not. One forms provisional theories and waits for time or fuller knowledge to exploit them. A bad habit, Mr. Ferguson, but human and nature is weak. I fear that your old friend here has given an exaggerated view of my scientific methods. However, I will only say at the present stage that your problem doesn't or not appear to me to be insoluble, and that it was evening of the dull, foggy November day when, having left our bags at the Sherlock, lumberly we drove through a Sussex clay of la long, winding lane and finally reached the isolated and ancient farmhouse in which Ferguson dwelt. It was large, straight-linked building, very old in the centre, very neat at the wings, with towering Tudor chimneys and legion atop, high-pitched roof and horseham slabs. The doorsteps were worn into carves, and the ancient tiles which lined the porch were marked with the rebels of the cake, cheese, and a main. After the original builder, within the ceilings were collected with heavy oaken beams, and the even floors saged into sharp carves. An odor of the age and dishy pervaded the whole crumbling building. There was one very large central room into which Ferguson led us. Here, in a huge old-fashioned fireplace with an iron screen behind it dated 60-70, there blazed and brutal and spelting look fire. The room, as I gazed round, was I not single mixture of dates of place.
The half panel was my will have belonged to her original yeoman farmer of the 17th century. They were ornamented, however, on the lower part by a line of well-chosen modern watercolors, while above were yellow plaster took the place of oak. There was a fine collection of South American utensils and weapons which had been brought no doubt by the Peruvian lady upstairs. Holmes rose with that quick curiosity which sprang from his argument and examined him with some care. He returned with his eyes full of thought. Hullo, a great Hullo, a spaniel had lain in basket in the corner. It came slowly forward towards its master, walking with difficulty. Its hind legs moved irregularly, and its tail was on the ground. It liked Ferguson's hand. What is Mr. Holmes? The dog, what's the matter with it? That's what puzzled the vet, a sort of paralysis. Spaniel meningitis. The dog boot is passing hell. Bell, right soon, won't you, Carlo? A shiver of assent passed through the dropping tail. The dog's mournful as passed from one of us to other. He now thought we were discussing his case. Did it come on suddenly in a single night? How long ago? It might have been 4 months ago. Wherein remarkable, where is suggestive? What do you see in them, Mr. Holmes? And confirmation of what he had already told. For good sake, what do you think, Mr. Holmes? It might be a mere intellectual puzzle to you, but is life and death to my wife avoid by murder, my child in constant danger. Don't play with me, Mr. Holmes. It's terribly serious. The big rugby quarter was trembling all over. Holmes put his hand so tightly upon his arm. If fair thought there is pain for you, Mr. Ferguson, whatever the solution might be said here, it will spare you all. I cannot say more for the instant, but before I left his boss, I hope he might have something definite. Plus a good, you might, if you will excuse me, gentlemen, I will go up to my wife's room and see if there has been any change. He was away some minutes, during which Holmes resumed his examination of the curiosities upon the wall. When your host returned, it was clear from his downcast face that he but made no progress. He brought with him a tall, slim, brown-faced girl. "That here is $3, said Ferguson. "See that your mistress has everything she can wish." She were ill-created, the girl looking indignant as at her master. She no ask for food. She were ill, said Ned doctor. If I cannot stay alone with her, with who, Dr. Ferguson looked at me with a question in his eyes. I should be so glad if I could be of use. Would your mistress say, Dr. Watson? I take him, I know ask leave she needs, doctor. Then I'll come with you. At once I followed the girl who was quivering with strong emotion up the staircase and down an ancient corridor. At the end was an iron clamped and massive door. It struck me as I looked at it that it Ferguson tried to force his way to his wife. He would find it no easy matter. The girl drew a key from her pocket and the heavy oaken planks cracked upon their old hinges. He passed in and sailed swiftly forward, fastening the door behind her. On the bed a woman was lying who was clearly in a high fever. She was only half conscious, but as it entered she raised a pair of frightened but beautiful eyes and glared at me in apprehension. Seeing a stranger, she appeared to be relieved and sank back with a sigh upon the pillow. I stepped up to her with a few reassuring words and she lay still will I took her pulse and temperature. Both were high, and yet my impression was that the condition was rather that of mental and nervous excitement than of any actual seizure. She like that on to die I phrase said a girl. The woman turned her flushed and handsome face towards me, whereas my husband, yes, beloved, would his wish to see you. I will not see him. He will not see him. Then I went, oh, what shall I do with this devil? Can I help you in any way? No, no one can help. It's finished. All is destroyed. Do what I will, all is destroyed. The woman must have a home strange delusion. Could not see honest Bob Ferguson in the character of fiend or devil.
Madam, I said your husband loves you dearly. He is deeply grieved at this happening. Again she turned on me those glorious eyes. He loves me, yes, but do I not love him? Do I not love him even to sacrifice myself rather than break his dear heart? That is how I love him, and yet he could think of me. He could speak of me so. He is full of grief, but he cannot understand. No, he cannot understand, but he should trust. Will you not see him? I suggested. No, no, I cannot forget those terrible words nor the look upon his face. I will not see him. Go now. You can do nothing for me. Tell him only one thing. I want my child. I have a right to my child. That is the only message I can send him. She turned her face to the wall and would say no more. I returned to the room downstairs, where Ferguson and Holmes still sat by the fire. Ferguson listened moodily to my account of the interview.
How can I send her the child? He said. How do I know what strange impulse might come upon her? How can I ever forget how she rose from beside it, with its blood upon her lips? He shuddered at the recollection. The child is safe with Mrs. Mason, and there he must remain. A smart maid, the only modern thing which we had seen in the house, had brought in some tea. As she was serving it, the door opened and a youth entered the room. He was a remarkable lad, pale-faced and fair-haired, with excitable light blue eyes which blazed into a sudden flame of emotion and joy. As they rested upon his father, he rushed forward and threw his arms round his neck with the abandon of a loving girl. "Oh, Daddy," he cried, "I didn't know that you were due yet. I should have been here to meet you. Oh, I am so glad to see you." Ferguson gently disengaged himself from the embrace with some little show of embarrassment. "Dear old chap," said he, patting the flaxen head with a very tender hand. "I came early because my friends, Mr. Holmes and Dr. Watson, have been persuaded to come down and spend an evening with us." "Is that Mr. Holmes, the detective?" "Yes." The youth looked at us with a very penetrating and, as it seemed to me, unfriendly gaze. "What about your other child, Mr. Ferguson?" asked Holmes. "Might we make the acquaintance of the baby?" "Ask Mrs. Mason to bring the baby down," said Ferguson. The boy went off with a curious, shambling gait which told my surgical eyes that he was suffering from a weak spine. Presently he returned, and behind him came a tall, gaunt woman bearing in her arms a very beautiful child, dark-eyed, golden-haired, a wonderful mixture of the Saxon and the Latin. Ferguson was evidently devoted to it, for he took it into his arms and fondled it most tenderly. Fancy anyone having the heart to hurt him, he muttered as he glanced down at the small, angry red pucker upon the cherub throat. It was this moment that I chanced to glance at Holmes and saw a most singular intentness in his expression. His face was as sad as if it had been carved out of old ivory, and his eyes, which had fixed with eager curiosity upon something at the other side of the room. Following his gaze, I could only guess that he was looking out through the window at the melancholy dripping garden. It is true that a shutter had half closed outside and obstructed the view, but nonetheless it was certainly at the window that Holmes was fixing his concentrated attention. Then he smiled, and his eyes came back to the baby. On its chubby neck there was this small puckered mark. Without speaking, Holmes examined it with care. Finally, he shook one of the dimpled fists which waved in front of him. "Goodbye, little man. You have made a strange start in life. Nurse, I should wish to have a word with you in private." He took her aside and spoke earnestly for a few minutes. I only heard the last words, which were, "Your anxiety will soon, I hope, be set at rest." The woman, who seemed to be a sore, silent kind of creature, withdrew with the child. "What is Mrs. Mason like?" asked Holmes. "Not very prepossessing externally, as you can see, but a heart of gold and devoted to the child." "Do you like her, Jack?" Holmes turned suddenly upon the boy. His expressive mobile face shadowed over, and he shook his head. "Jackie has very strong likes and dislikes," said Ferguson, putting his arm round the boy. "Luckily, I am one of his likes." The boy cawed and nestled his head upon his father's breast. Ferguson gently disengaged him.
"Run away, little Jack," he said, and he watched his son with loving eyes until he disappeared. "Now, Mr. Holmes," he continued when the boy was gone, "I really felt that I have both you on a fool's errand. For what can you possibly do save give me your sympathy? It must be an exceedingly delicate and complex affair from your point of view." "It is certainly delicate," said my friend with an amused smile, "but I have not been struck up to now with its complexity. It has been a case for intellectual dedication. But when this original intellectual dedication is confirmed point by quite a number of independent incidents, then the subjective becomes objective, and we can say confidently that we have reached our goal. I had in fact reached it before we left Baker Street, and the rest has merely been observation and confirmation." Ferguson put his big hand to his furrowed forehead. "For heaven's sake, Holmes," he said hoarsely, "if you can see truth in this matter, do not keep me in suspense. How do I stand? What shall I do? I care nothing as to how you have found your facts, so long as you have really got them. Certainly I owe you an explanation, and you shall have it. But you will permit me to handle the matter in my own way. Is the lady capable of seeing us, Watson?" She's ill, but she's quite rational. Very good. It is only in her presence that we can clear the matter up. Let us go up the hill. She will not see me, cried Ferguson. Oh, yes, she will, said Holmes. He scribbled a few lines upon a sheet of paper. You at last have the entry, Watson. Will you have the goodness to give the lady this note? I asked it again and handed the note to Dolores, who carelessly opened the door. A minute later, I heard a cry from within, a cry in which joy and surprise seemed to blend. Dolores looked out. She will see them, she will listen, said she. At my summons, Ferguson and Holmes came up. As we entered the room, Ferguson took a step or two towards his wife, who had raised herself in the bed. But she held out her hand to repulse him. He sank into an armchair, while Holmes seated himself beside him. After bowing to Lady Wu looked at him wide-eyed amusement. I think we can dispense with dollars, said Holmes. Oh, very well, madame, if you want raters, she said. I can see no objection. No, Mr. Ferguson, I'm a busy man with many calls, and my methods have to be short and direct. The swiftest surgery is the least painful. Let me first say what will ease your mean. Your wife is a very good, a very loving, and a very ill-used woman. Ferguson sat up with a cry of joy. Prove that, Mr. Holmes, and I'm your debtor forever. I will do so, but in doing so, I must want you deeply in another direction. I care nothing so long as you clear my wife. Everything on her earth is insignificant compared to that. Let me tell you then the reign of reason, which passed throughout of my mind in Baker Street. The idea of a vampire was to me absurd. Such things do not happen in criminal practice in England. And yet your observation was precise. You had seen the lady rise from beside the child's cot with blood upon her lips. I did. Did it not occur to you that a bleeding wound might be sucked for some other purpose than to draw the blood from it? Was there not a queen in English history who sucked such a wound to draw poison from it? Poison. A South American household. My instinct felt the presence of those weapons upon the wall before my eyes ever seen them. It might have been other poison, but that was what occurred to me when I saw little empty quiver beside the small big bowl. It was just I expected to see. If the chills were pricked with on of tooth, aroused deep in courage or some other devilish drug. It would mean that if the venom were not sucked out, and the dog, if one were to use such a poison. Why not try it first in order to see that it had not lost its power? I did not foresee the dog, but at least I understand him, and he fitted into my reconstruction. How do you understand? Your wife feared such an attack. She saw its mate and saved the child's life, and yet she shrank from telling you all the truth, for she knew how you loved the boy and feared lest it break your heart. Jackie, I watched him as you fondled the child just now. His face was clearly reflected in the glass of the window, where the shutter.
My Jackie, we have to face it's Mr. Ferguson. It is the more painful because it's a destroyed love many killed exaggerated love for you, and possibly for his dead mother which has prompted his action. His very soul is consumed with hatred for this splendid child, whose health and wits are construct to his own weakness. Good, God is incredible. He was spoken to third madam. The lady was sobbing with her face buried in the pillows. Now she turned to her husband. How could I tell you, Bob? I felt the beloved world with you. It was better that I should wait and that it should come from some other lips than mine. When the gentleman, who seems to have powers of magic, wrote that he never, I was glad. I think I read she will be my prescription for Mr. Jackie. Said Holmes rising from his chair. Only one thing still occurred, madam, we can quite understand your attacks upon Mr. Jackie. There is a limit on mother patience, but how did you dare to leave the child these last 2 days? I had told Miss Mason. She never. Exactly. So I imagined Ferguson was standing by the bed, cooking his hand all stretched and quivering. "'Tis a fancy is the time for exit, Watson," said Holmes in a whisper. "If you will take one elbow of the faithful dollars, I will take the other." Then he added as he closed the door. "Behind him I think we may leave to settle the rest among themselves. I only want person of this case. It is the letter which Holmes wrote in full answer to that with which the narrative begins. It ran thus: Re-vampires. Sir, referring to your letter of 90, I beg to state I have looked into in care of your friend Mr. Robert Ferguson, of Ferguson and Muirhead to brokers of Mincing Lane, and that the matter has been brought to satisfactory conclusion. With thanks for your recommendation, I am, sir, faithfully yours,